Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Founders Cut. Today I'm here with Yannick Cohen, founder and CEO of Brightway Health. Before we talk about what the company does, as usual, I want to start with talking about the person behind the logo. So, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself a little bit more in detail of how you got to becoming a founder of a startup.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Adam. Excited to be here. Um, I guess the easiest way to understand my background is that it's kind of been a combination of different worlds, and sometimes conflicting worlds as well. So, my parents are both European, so I'm a first generation American. They came over back in the 80s. And Uh, they even have a little bit that conflicting side of things as well. My surname is Cohen, very Jewish surname, and my mom's family's from Germany. So, kind of have a bit of both worlds in that regard. I ended up marrying an Egyptian Muslim, so that's kind of like continuing on that path as well. Um, and then, my career has really been defined by a combination of technology as well as business. So, kind of taking both of those pieces as well. I've always had sort of an interest in doing things a little bit differently. Past few years, especially during COVID, took the opportunity to live nomadically. Got to see most of the U.S. Traveling for about 3 years. Um, so that's kind of a little bit about me personally. I ended up studying biomedical engineering and then engineering management. Like I said, kind of that technical and the business side of things. So um, beyond meeting my wife, I also fell in love with business and entrepreneurship while in grad school, studying engineering management. Ended up taking a job at Epic, which is the big medical record software company. Depending on who you talk to, that might mean games or medical records. So I like to specify that. Um, but really saw that, big company, you don't get to necessarily practice some of those entrepreneurial skills or see kind of the bigger picture of the company. It's a fantastic company. If you ever get a chance to go there and explore their campus, highly recommend it. It's pretty crazy what they built there, but it just wasn't for me. So I ended up going and joining a dental management company, helping them to run operations for a couple of years. Went from, I think, about 11 million to 15 million in about a year and a half in revenue. And then decided that the business side was great, wanted some more technical experience. So taught myself how to code, and then went and worked for a couple of software engineering startups as an engineer. So my most recent role before starting Brightway was at a company called Arthur AI, basically an AI monitoring startup. But that's kind of all of the background before what really got me started in Brightway, and I can go into that next if you like.
Yeah, actually, before we jump into actually what Brightway does, I think when we spoke not too long ago, I asked you like, why did you start it, right? And so maybe we can just turn it into like a segue, right? What was your catalyst to start this company, and then what does the company do?
Yeah. So my brother suffered a severe traumatic brain injury while in law school a number of years ago, and it basically changed who he was. Right, he was in a coma for 3 weeks while he was studying abroad in South Africa. Very bright kid. He was at Cornell Law School, and basically he's a completely different person, and he's going to need some level of therapy probably for the rest of his life. Um, One of the things that really was problematic early on was his lack of awareness of his injury and why he was in therapy. Um, and when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Being a software engineer, having some business background, I said, well, I think I can probably solve this. So I paired up with a couple of his friends. We built an application for him that basically rewarded him for doing therapy in between his sessions. You know, doing therapy in between sessions is hugely important. If you're just doing therapy at the sessions, you're not going to get better very quickly. So he went from doing no therapy at home to doing it every single day for 3 years in a row. And he's still doing it, right? A couple of years later, he'll text me on days where he won't do it because I think he feels guilty that he's not doing it on a particular day. Um, so, you know, we saw that, and we thought, well, maybe this might be useful for some other people as well, right? We ended up doing an IRB approved study, very small study with some TBI patients, and saw that, you know, the application we had built specifically for my brother, you know, there were certain pieces that worked well, some pieces that didn't work well. Some of the pieces that didn't work well is having therapists review the videos that are submitted. They just don't have time for that, right? So we're tackling that now with computer vision, basically using AI to assess the exercises. And actually, we're developing some assessments as well to make that quantitative and help the therapist to save some time. The other thing is that happened right around that time is that new billing codes came out for what's called remote therapeutic monitoring, which basically pays the therapist for spending time on reviewing the home program, adjusting it, communicating with the patient, all that kind of good stuff. So it was really good timing, I think, for when we started working on this. So we kind of started going down that remote therapeutic monitoring path, and you know, we were pretty interested in using this for neurology, probably for obvious reasons, right? My brother's TBI. Saw that there was a smaller market there, so we started exploring a couple of different paths to market, and really came across the aging path as a big opportunity. Couple of reasons we decided to go down that route is, one, we were doing a pilot and actually saw that older adults were engaging more with our software, which you wouldn't necessarily expect with technology or especially artificial intelligence. And then Medicare and Medicare Advantage are consistently paying for our software as well. So that's kind of the route that we landed on as we were exploring different market opportunities for what Brightway does now. I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that direction as well.
Yeah, you know, I think you said a few things that I want to touch upon, which is one, I love the fact that you actually found a legitimate use case for AI. You know, it's so hard these days to look at startups and try to decipher whether or not it's a valid use or not a valid use when they slap it onto whatever they are trying to raise money for. So, you know, it's kind of cool that right place, right time for a solution that can help, you know, really help the providers who I know are really stressed and there's not enough of them, and they don't have enough time in the day to do the work. So I think that's beautiful. The other part that I think is really great is it appears, at least on the surface level, I don't know all the nuances of the space, but it seems like a win-win-win situation, right? So better outcomes for the patients, less burnout for the staff, more money generation for the staff, and hopefully a faster recovery or at least a better quality of life for the patients because of these technologies. So very cool. You know, for the people that are at home listening to this, you know, some of them are founders, some of them are investors, some of them are just random people that like to hear about startups. You know, where have you seen the most surprises in your founder journey so far?
Most surprises. I mean, I think one of the things that I just mentioned was that older adults are actually using our technology more than we expected. We definitely did not see that coming. Um, I don't know that there's a ton of surprises. I mean, the founder's journey has really been a series of, you know, just overcoming different obstacles, right? Whether it's making sure that the technology works for a particular use case. You know, you have a hypothesis of a problem, you try to solve that problem. That takes some time. But you know, kind of going back to one of the things that you were just saying in terms of win-win-win, Especially in healthcare, that's a tough thing to find because there are just more stakeholders involved, right? It's not just you and the customer, but it's you, the provider, the patient, and the payer, right? So that kind of doubles the number of stakeholders that are involved as well. So, finding how to create a solution that meets all of those needs is definitely a challenging one.
Yeah, I think healthcare is one of the most challenging places to succeed because of all the different players that are involved in it. And so the fact that you took your time, you assessed the situation, you came at it from a traditional pain point. You talked about everything looks like a nail when you're a hammer. I think traditionally the way that companies are formed are smart people think, oh, I'll just make this thing and then figure out how to use it. You actually built it because there was a legitimate patient zero that would have benefited from it. So I think that's why you see the traction that you see early on that you do, because you didn't go from the perspective of engineering, you came from the perspective of empathy, I think, right? So a little subtle nuance that you might not think about, but probably has long-term butterfly effects for the company. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about business potential, right? Like, how big of an opportunity is it that you're chasing after right now?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty big. If you think about older adults and physical therapy, it's uh, it's about an $8.3 billion market for physical therapy at home for senior adults in the United States. Um, you know, Perhaps not surprisingly, the older adult population is looking to age at home, age in place. I think the statistic is 87% of older adults prefer to age in their homes rather than go to a new spot. So that's one of the things that we're really trying to help them with at this point. And not just through the software, but also through basically an at-home service where our therapists are seeing older adults in their homes, right? So it makes it more accessible as well. Um, so it's a giant opportunity, and I think there are a few trends, including that healthcare is moving more into the home over time as well. So we see this opportunity as a hybrid of both in-person at home health as well as the virtual health through our software that kind of improves both the engagement as well as the access to care for these adults.
Gotcha. Uh, in terms of your current stage of the company, what are the types of folks that you're trying to engage with? Let's set investors aside because everyone's looking for investors. So we just consider that a already bolded, double underlined, italic, whatever, highlighted.
That's a given.
So
Yeah.
outside of that, like if someone's listening, because people don't think about their networks often unless it's part of your job. But like if someone's listening, like and they might know somebody, what type of person is it that you're trying to get connected with? Is it PTs? Is it healthcare administrators? Patients themselves? Like what's the ideal type of folks that you're trying to get plugged in with right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of individuals that we're trying to connect with. Certainly, physical therapists are one of them, one of the groups that we're connecting with. We are getting ready to go live in our first city, which will be Dallas, Texas, in about a month and a half. And so, physical therapists in that area, but the goal is to spread this all throughout the United States. So, physical therapists in general are individuals we want to connect with. The software that we're developing is also can be used by any outpatient physical therapist in private practice or working with a hospital group or large group. So, always looking for feedback from those individuals as well. And then the patients, of course, older adults, 65 plus, who might need some level of physical therapy, whether it's for falls or arthritis or knee replacement, right? There's all kinds of things. Stroke, right? The neuro side is a part of this as well, not just the purely physical, but the patients are really the group that we're trying to solve for here. And then there's different stakeholders in potential partnership arrangements as well. So whether that's different hospital groups or foundations that are focused on aging, the social impact of this is something that shouldn't be ignored either.
Gotcha. I've got a choose your own destiny question. I'll throw two of them out there. You can answer one or both. One is, what kind of ROI are you seeing for the practitioners, the providers? I'll assume what the ROI is for patients, right? Like faster recovery, better, stronger recovery. But on the provider side, the PTs or the OTs or STs that are going to be using this, what's their ROI? And then what's the business model look like for you?
Yeah, so a couple of different answers depending on which type of provider we're working with. So the physical therapists that are part of our service, right, that are going to patients' homes, seeing patients in their homes, and using our software in tandem. It's really just a better way of working for them. I think it was 11% of the physical therapy population left the profession in 2021 and 22, which is like it was a huge hit to the industry because it's already an industry that's understaffed. So what we're really looking to do is reduce burnout for those individuals. They spend a full hour of one-on-one time with a patient rather than, in 30-minute chunks, you're working with two or three patients at the same time. So you have that more focused care. It's a lot fewer patients that they're working with as well, right? So in traditional outpatient practice, a therapist might see 12, 15 patients in a day. We are expecting our full-time therapists to see about 25 patients per week, right? So it's a lot less. And the physical strain on physical therapists is very real, right? Whether it's, hand problems, wrist problems from doing, hands-on massage or just being standing all day and working with patients, moving around. So giving them the opportunity to have a little bit less strain, and really practice with patients the way that they want to is a big selling point for us for therapists. And that's in addition to making the same or more than they would in traditional outpatient practice. We also have some flexibility built in where therapists can choose their own schedule, right? So whether they just want a few appointments per week to maybe add on to some other job that they have or to work full time. I was just talking to a therapist who was like, it'd be really nice if I could just like work 4 days, 10 hours per day. I was like, sure, that's something that you can definitely do with us. So that's on the service side. On um, the purely software side, right? If they were to just use our software, there's a couple of pieces that they benefit from as well, which is the higher revenue, right? So, cancellations, no-shows, that's definitely a common problem for physical therapists. What remote therapeutic monitoring allows for is to plug those holes and actually get reimbursed for the time that they are spending communicating with patients or um, reassigning programs, reviewing the things that the patients have done at home as well, and really trying to engage those patients so that um, they're doing the home program in the way that it was assigned. So the revenue piece is one of those. But there's also, they get more qualitative feedback, right? There's very little insight right now into what patients are actually doing from an adherence and a technique point of view. We provide both of those things very directly. And then it also allows them to build better relationships with the patients as well, right? Through that more engaging application and more frequent touch points as well. So it's kind of those three things for the providers who are outside. I know I've been going for a while on this already, but I'll talk a little bit about the business model too. So remote therapeutic monitoring has four billing codes that apply to musculoskeletal care. And that's really where the therapist can make money, right? As just through traditional fee-for-service billing to insurance companies. So we'll charge a monthly rate per patient for that software if they're using that. For the service, we are also doing a fee for service kind of model. So if a therapist sees a patient in person in their home for an hour, it's the same exact rate as if the patient would go to an outpatient um, practice. They're paying the same exact copay or getting reimbursed the same amount as well. But then we also add on the remote therapeutic monitoring side. Because Medicare Advantage, some of the commercial payers are also reimbursing for remote therapeutic monitoring. It gives us an additional income from that virtual care, which again, both improves the patient outcomes, but it also improves our bottom line too.
Appreciate the thoroughness. If I can distill it down into the things that my lizard brain took as takeaways are, improve the quality of life for everyone at the table. That's number one with a bullet, in my opinion. Secondarily, I think the fact that codes are already established means it's clean. You don't need to worry about complexities of will I get paid in the future. It's already been put into place, so the pathways are readily available and identifiable. And so, in reality, like your ability to succeed as a company really just comes down to how do you scale, how fast do you scale, and how quality do you scale, right? Because you can be in Texas, you can be in 25 states, but if you can't support it properly, then that's the biggest issue, right? But if you can figure those things out, the money can be made. There's a population of people that are going to need the support because it continues to grow every day. I think for like the next 10 years it's going to continue to before it actually plateaus off, and then they say that the last of the boomers have retired. It actually might not be even 10 years, but either way it's a long time. One thing I will add for you to chew on is there is an added component, and I only bring this up because in a funny way, my former startup had patients, providers, payers, right? But I also had parents because I was working with kids. So
Oh
for
yeah,
you, instead of parents, it's actually the kids of the parents, right?
caregivers.
Because
That's right.
those caregivers are going to be instrumental into adherence, into encouraging them to use the platform. Not everyone's going to be like your brother, right? Not everyone's going to just do it because it's fun or engaging or whatnot. But they call it the sandwich generation, right? Like people that are our age. I think you're probably pretty similar to my age. We have our parents to look after now, as well as if we have kids ourselves, right? So I think there's a huge benefit for if you can give those caregivers a window in to monitor and encourage and track, right? So very cool. As we kind of wind this up, would love to give you a chance to uh, have a platform, talk about anything that's coming up, call to action, whatever the case may be. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really excited about where this is going. Obviously, we're just about to go live, so that's kind of the biggest thing for us right now that we're looking forward to. But you know, I think it's a really exciting time to be going into the aging care space. This is an area that is being talked about more and more. You hear frequently from guys like I don't know if you know Peter Attia and his book Outlive, but I'm gonna uh, butcher his quote, but it's something like exercise is the best drug that you can have, both for improving quality and potentially quantity of life. We see physical therapy as kind of like that first step into improving the longevity of folks, both health span as well as potentially lifespan. So, really excited about that. But if you'd like to get involved, please don't hesitate to email me. Maybe Adam can include my email in the show notes or something like that. Would love to hear from you and see how we can work together. Oh, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, Yannick. I'm glad you could join and tell your story. I love telling founder stories. I especially love telling founder stories where the pain point that they're trying to solve for comes from something of a unique lived experience. And so the fact that you're trying to build something because you have such a direct, correlation to why it started means that much more to me to highlight. So if you're an investor, if you're another founder that can maybe partner with, or if you're someone that's looking for potentially changing the way you work as a PT, or any of the above, right? Don't be shy, reach out. The only way things actually progress in this society is through serendipitous outcomes. So, hopefully we find some cool people that see this and reach out. So, thanks again for joining, and I'll be sure to include all your contact information at the end. So, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, Adam.